Finals. Here's a look at the four men who will be squaring off in heat number 1 in the semis. Tom Curran will be in yellow. Derek Hough is wearing white. Martin Potter will don the red shirt, and Chris Frohoff is in green. Now, each surfer gets 10 rides. The judges will score and add up the top 4 rides. The 2 surfers with the most points at the end of this round will go on to the finals. And who do you like right here?
Right now, I'd have to say Derek Hough has a good lead on these guys, just in his experience at Pipeline and his positioning knowledge.
Derek Hough trying to catch the first ride here in the semifinals, and he's up.
He's way back in the tube, holds his rail through that little lip, and comes out, making it look very easy.
Now, it would have been better if he'd have stayed in that tube longer, but he just couldn't hold it.
Well, he had to come out, and he's lucky that he came out when he did. Otherwise, the tube would have closed up. So he's got to bail out.
And here's Martin Potter.
Martin Potter, holding his rail backside, has a little tougher... Oh, there he goes off the lip. That's unbelievable.
Great ride by Martin Potter. And here is Chris Frohoff.
He's pulling into an incredibly nice barrel, good wave positioning. Right now, he's just trying to accumulate more points, doing some off the lips to get that score of the tube ride a little higher.
Milk the wave as much as possible.
Exactly, and the Californians are great at that.
Now, we're going to take another look at this ride from our in-water camera. John, what are the judges watching for?
Well, this is a perfect example of a tube ride. Chris is holding his line really high inside the tube, above the white water. The judges can't even see him at this point, but once he does pop out, Chris knows it's going to be a high-scoring tube ride.
And here comes Derek Hough.
He has great positioning here, deep inside the tube. Gets spit out. That'll be a high-scoring ride for Derek.
Tom Curran is up right here. Curran, last year's world champion.
Pulls into a tube. He's too far back.
Here's another look at Curran's ride. What goes wrong?
Basically, Tommy just took off too far back, and when he grabs his rail, that's not even going to be enough.
What do you mean when you say grabs his rail?
Well, when you have your back to the wave, you reach down and you pull up on your board to get a little more leverage to make it through the tube.
In this case, it did not help. And here is Martin Potter.
Martin Potter goes off the bottom nicely. It's an okay ride, but his wave selection is not that great.
And here comes Derek Hough on what appears to be the biggest wave of the day.
He might be too far back.
Derek Hough in the tube and out
I
of the
can't
tube.
believe he made that out. That's got to be one of the best waves of this contest.
And the crowd on the beach going wild in celebration. And here we see it again. And this is just a
Look at how much farther back he's taken off than the other contestant.
Right down the face of the wave. And what does it feel like? That must be some rush.
Well, once you're in the tube, all you're thinking about is how to make it out of that tube. The water is spinning, there's mist in the tube, and Derek's just straining for a way out of this. He's looking for daylight.
And he finds it. A beautiful ride by Derek Hough.
I could see that 100 times, and it would still be incredible.
Now, here's the way brother Michael Hough saw it from his vantage point on the beach. His brother's in the tube. It looks bleak. And, yes, he has made it. Derek Hough with the ride of this event. And here comes Chris Frohoff. Frohoff trying to get into that tube, and he has got it. Beautiful move right there. Frohoff is an up-and-coming California surfer. He has never been in the finals of an ASP event, but this is a golden opportunity right here.
Chris got a nice tube ride on the outside of that small wave, and he's taken it all the way to the inside, doing little off the tops and carving all the way to the beach. It's going to rack up a few extra points for him.
And here is Martin Potter in what looks like a pretty big wave.
Oh, he gets hit on the head. Lucky he stayed on that.
And not for long, Potter with a wipeout. Here's Chris Frohoff flying out of the wave.
That was a really good wave. He got spit out, and he's going back for a few more points for that nice cutback.
And here is Tommy Curran. Crunch time.
That's
Look
a
out.
bad place to wipe out.
Curran's wipeout marks the end of heat number 1 of the semifinal round. And it's good to see that he is up and paddling in because you can really get hurt out there.
That's a very dangerous area. There's pinnacles of rock and caves, and that's what makes Pipeline so exciting and so dangerous.
The results are in from heat 1 in the semifinal round. And Derek Hough of Hawaii advances along with Chris Frohoff of California. It's the end of the line. Potter and Tommy Curran. It was a good first round of the semifinals. Let's go down to talk with Australian Martin Potter to see what he thinks about this round.
You know, there's 4 of us out there in the water, and it's one of the world's best waves, and just about every wave you catch, you get a tube ride on it, so it's, you know, for us, it's really good to come here and surf in the Connex.
The next 4 semifinalists are preparing for their heat, so we'll take a short break and return with the 16th annual Pipeline Masters in a moment. Welcome back to Banzai Pipeline and the Marui Offshore Pipeline Masters. You're watching Tom Carroll prepare for this heat. Carroll has a perforated eardrum from an earlier wipeout. Gives you an idea of how serious these men are about the Pipeline Masters. Ready for semifinal heat 2. Tom Carroll in yellow, Brian McNulty in the white shirt, Damian Hardman in red, and Gary Kong Elkerton in green. And at the end of this heat, the 2 men with the most points will advance to the finals, along with Derek Ho and Chris Frohoff, who advanced earlier. Who do you like?
Tom Carroll, because he loves to surf out here. He doesn't care how big it gets. The waves are in perfect condition, and Tom should have a heyday out there.
3 Aussies and a Californian, Carroll, Hardman, and Elkerton, and there is Carroll, one of the Aussies. Next up, it is Brian McNulty on something of a smaller wave.
But he did get tubed. He's playing it safe, trying to get up his wave count.
McNulty, not one of the bigger names, but he's holding his own out here on the north shore of Oahu.
He's been practicing out there a lot.
Kong Elkerton. They call him Kong because of his proficiency on the big waves. Didn't look like much to work with right there, though.
He had a nice tube at the beginning of the wave, but it just fizzled out on him.
And here we see it again, straight down the face. It looks a lot bigger right there.
It looks a lot better in slow motion. You can see and understand what he's doing. Nice style, but it's just not much to work with.
Kong looking pretty casual right there, like a stroll in the park. Is that just his style?
It's tradition at Pipeline, trying to make things look easy.
And here is Damian Hardman of Australia.
Getting tubed, but not very good wave selection.
Ouch, right there. While Hardman was wiping out, Tom Carroll had this ride.
That was an extremely critical takeoff, but it will set him up right in the perfect position for the tube ride. Exactly what the judges want to see.
And we see a lot of the surfers dragging their left hand through the tube. What is that all about?
They drag their hand to slow them down according to how the wave is breaking.
And here is Damian Hardman again.
He's having a little trouble with his surfboard. It looks like it's not really holding in quite as well as some of the others, and his wave selection also.
Elkerton paddling like mad to try to catch up with this wave, and he's flying.
He grabs his rail and comes out of that tube. That was a nice wave.
And Elkerton trying to make the most out of what amounts to very little on this ride. Here is Tom Carroll. This is a big wave.
That was a bad wave to take off on. It closed right up.
And he does not make it out, just absorbed in the white water. You can't even see him.
It probably wasn't a wise choice, but Tommy wouldn't have tried it unless he thought he could make it. Sometimes you just got to take those chances.
And look at his board. It's snapped in half like a twig.
Well, that's not an uncommon sight at Pipeline. It happens all the time.
Now, how many boards would a guy like Tommy go through in an average meet here?
Breaking 1 or 2 happens all the time, but Derek Ho broke 3 last year. For Tommy, it's obviously a big loss. It's his favorite board for these conditions. It's like a baseball player breaking his favorite bat.
And here is Kong Elkerton again. And again, he's looking sort of casual out there.
It's a really nice ride, but he needs to get a little deeper in the tube.
Now, what do you mean by deeper in the tube?
He needs to take off back further and have a little more time in the tube, because that's what the judges are scoring points on.
And so he would rack up a little bit more if he stayed in the tube a little bit longer.
Exactly. He could have been coming out with that spit.
And here's Brian McNulty, the lone Californian, mixed in this heat with 3 Aussies.
That was a really nice tube. Now he's going to cut back and go into the inside section.
Now he's going to try to milk this wave for everything he can. How does that score with the judges?
That little tube, he just got tubed again, is going to score real high. 2 tubes in 1 wave is great.
Brian McNulty trying to move his way into the finals. It would be the first time in an ASP event that he's made it in. And the results are in from the judges. Tom Carroll of Australia, the former world champion, qualifies for the finals. He wins this semifinal heat, along with Brian McNulty of California.
Stay tuned for more action from the Marui Offshore Pipeline Masters.
Everybody is still talking about the incredible performance that Derek Ho pulled out during this round. Let's go down to the beach and talk with Ho's rival, Tom Carroll, to get his reaction to Ho's ride.
That was an awesome tube ride. He was in there talking to someone. They just let him out. Come on, let me out. And he was out.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you call it?
That one does a 10 plus. That one that he got was just horrendous.
And we are ready for the finals. Chris Frohoff from California in the green shirt, Tom Carroll of Australia in red, Derek Ho of Hawaii in white, and Brian McNulty in the yellow. He's from California, and they are all vying for the top prize in the Pipeline Masters competition. Again, there will be 10 waves, and the best 4 rides will be tallied up by the judges, and the man who comes out with the most points at the end of this round is the champion. What do you think?
I think Derek Ho and Tom Carroll definitely have the experience that it takes out there. They've been expected to win for the last few years, and neither of them have so far.
Here you see Derek preparing for his entry into the water. Kind of interesting because for years, Jerry Lopez was the king of Pipeline. Lopez now working a windsurfing business over on Maui, and it appears that this is the successor, Derek Ho, and he may be the next king of Pipeline.
Derek Ho has definitely filled a void where others have not been able to. He came on really strong this year and looks to be the new Pipeline champion.
And of course, brother Michael looking on from the beach, the proud members of the whole family hoping that Derek can pull this one out this afternoon, but the competition will be tough. 2 Californians, an Aussie, and a Hawaiian in the finals looking for the championship in the Pipeline Masters here at the beautiful Banzai Pipeline. And we're just about ready for surfing action in the finals. Here is Chris Frohoff of California.
That was a nice tube to start off the heat, and Chris goes back into the inside section, gets another tube. That's a great start.
Now, he's not one of the bigger names. Can he beat Carroll or Ho?
It depends on the wave selection.
There is Ho right there as they both battle and work on the same wave.
There you see Derek had a much better wave, just got a little farther back in the tube.
Derek in the white water, and here we see his ride from start to finish.
You can see how casual he's looking there, trying to stay back way deep inside the tube to gain those points.
And Derek with a little showmanship right there with a wave to the crowd, a wave to the judges. And you can see they're jotting it down. Points scored by Derek Ho. And here's Brian McNulty of California.
Looks like he's got a good wave there. He takes the only exit available to him. He dives to the back of the wave.
Now, for the novices, it looked like a disaster there, but that was actually a practice maneuver. Here's Tom Carroll on a smaller inside wave.
Tommy Carroll here has a great wave. You can see the afternoon conditions are perfect for tube riding.
Just gorgeous with the silhouette there, and you can see our in-water cameraman right up close. Here's Chris Frohoff.
It's a great little tube. It's a little bit of a small wave, but it's better than sitting outside waiting for the sets. He's getting his wave count up. He's being really aggressive.
And that's what the judges are looking for. Here is Derek Ho on the outside.
That was a nice tube. Spit out. It's not much in the inside. You can see there's no waves in the background, so Derek's happy. He got the last wave of the set.
We're going to take another look at this in slow motion. And the amazing thing here is Derek has to alter his course.
Well, yeah, he's picked a line already to go down the wave, and then Tom Carroll's there. The most critical part of the wave, and he's got to change it. He almost lost it, but he made it out, which is an incredible wave.
Now, he's going about 20 to 30 miles an hour in there to be able to stay on his board and get out of the way is absolutely amazing. Here's Tom Carroll.
Tommy picked off a good-sized wave there. Didn't get as far back in the tube as he wanted to, but did have a nice off the lip on the inside.
Here's Brian McNulty.
Oh, he's got a good wave there. He gets a little spit out. Not as far back as he wanted to get either, but a good wave nonetheless.
Now, a reminder, a maximum of 10 rides for each surfer in the finals. Each ride is scored by the judges. The top 4 rides are totaled up, and the winner at the end is the guy with the most total points. Brian McNulty finishing off that ride, and there he goes. Local favorite Derek Ho. Looks like Derek's found another big wave.
Taking off another one. He's far back. Oh, that time he wasn't quite as lucky. It was soup coming out of there, whitewash, instead of just mist. so it makes it really hard to stay on.
As we watch in slow-mo, this is very similar to Derek's perfect 10 in the semifinals, except this ride he didn't make. When the whitewater covered him up, he did not escape.
It's like a fire hose on your back. I mean, the whole thing just exploded inside. It was lucky that he didn't get hurt.
Tommy Carroll up on the next wave, and some flashy moves right there.
Tommy feels really comfortable out at Pipeline, and he's got the style to show it. I mean, he's just having a good time out there.
Looks like he's enjoying himself as he streaks through the tube. Here's Brian McNulty. Brian looks to be having a problem with wave selection. He just does not appear to be getting the bigger waves like some of the other guys.
Well, between Tommy and Derek, I think they're taking all the good waves and leaving Chris and Brian McNulty with some of the lesser waves, and we can see the frustration.
Here's another look in slow motion at Brian McNulty's ride, and although it's not a classic ride from the big wave standpoint, it's just a pretty scene from our in-water camera, and you really get the feel of being right in that tube.
It's a nice wave. It spits out, but it's just not really far back in the tube where he's going to score a lot of points. He'll get good points for it, and it'll knock up his wave count a bit. He's happy with that.
You can see the silhouette. Gorgeous conditions here at the Bonsai Pipeline. Waves about 6 to 10 feet. We're back to live action, and here is Chris Frohoff of California.
Chris Frohoff, another good tube. Not the big waves, not the set waves, but nonetheless, he's catching a good wave and making the most of it. You know, Derek and Tommy have all the sets, it seems like.
Seems like they almost own the waves out there. They turn them off and they turn them on. And here is Frohoff just trying to get whatever he can. And here's another look.
Chris Frohoff, you got to understand, didn't take off exactly where he wanted to. There's 4 guys out there jockeying for position. Makes it hard.
And now Tom Carroll is up.
Nice low drop there. Good hard off the bottom. The wave turned into a 2-foot wave after being an 8-foot wave. Pipeline has a reputation for doing that. A huge wave, all of a sudden you're riding the soup, and it's amazing how I can do that.
Now you see 2 heads bobbing out there in the water. One is obviously Carroll's, who we just seen. The other is Brian McNulty. And these 2 guys do not have much time to paddle back out because the finals are almost over. And Derek Ho says, hey, the finals are almost over. Time for one more ride.
And a good tube at that. Derek's going to ride this one. Oh, that was a fantastic off the lip there. He's just riding it for all it's worth.
Tremendous balance. You see here when the whitewater comes storming into him and he manages to stay on the board. These are tremendous athletes.
Those are little floaters, or what we call them. And he's just doing all those, just racking up a few more points and knowing that it's the end of the heat.
And here's another look at Derek's ride in slow motion. And as we take it from start to finish, this is right where you want to be.
I don't think Derek needs another good tube ride, but that was a great one.
Down to the final seconds now. Chris Frohoff has completed his 10 rides, and he's walking up the beach.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it, Tally-ho.
While the judges are tallying the scores, we'll take a short break and be right back to see who will be the champion of this year's Pipeline Masters. Offshore Pipeline Masters, and you can see the crowd gathering around the platform. This is the moment that everybody has waited for throughout the course of this event, the naming of a Pipeline Masters champion. It's been a long day of surfing. You can see Frohoff and McNulty looking down there intently, just hoping for some good news. And the word from the judges is that 4th place goes to Californian Brian McNulty. Brian gets a lay and a kiss. Not bad. 4th place in the Pipeline Masters. 3rd place goes to fellow Californian Chris Frohoff. And that means we are down to the final 2. Will it be Tom Carroll or Derek Ho? Carroll takes 2nd. Derek Ho is the Pipeline champion. When people look back and remember the 16th annual Pipeline Masters, they'll remember one thing: Derek Ho's perfect ride. And here's Derek with his own description.
I just was trying to stay on my board. You know, I must say that's the best barrel I've had in my life. And with the right boards and the right equipment, anyone's going to be able to do it if they're out there going for it.
So local favorite Derek Ho turns in a memorable performance to edge out Tom Carroll.
It's been a long time coming for Derek. He's paid his dues out here, and I know he's glad to have won his first ASP event here at Pipeline.
That wraps up the action in this year's Marui Offshore Pipeline Masters. We've seen it all in this event: spectacular waves, the best surfers in the world, and even a perfect ride.